Okay, we are on the record at 9:06 a.m.
This is the continuation of the deposition of Roger Stone. It is the 13th of February 2020. Videographer and Madam Court Reporter, can you begin this proceeding with your appropriate statements?
Do the read in.
Read it. So,
Take
this
it.
is the continued deposition of Roger Stone, taken in the matter of Klayman versus Stone. Today is February 13th, 2020, and the time is 9:07 a.m. This deposition is being conducted at 110 Southeast 6th Street, Fort Lauderdale, Florida. The court reporter is Trish Bailey Enton, and the videographer is Leland Olson, both of Empire Legal Reporting. Will counsel please introduce themselves, after which the court reporter will swear in the witness.
Larry Klayman for himself, pro se, and also for Dr. Jerome Corsi.
Robert
Plaintiffs.
Sorry.
Plaintiffs.
Robert Buchel on behalf of Roger Stone.
Mark Lerner, Dwayne Morris on behalf of Newsmax Media, Inc., Christopher Ruddy, John Cardillo, John Bachman.
I'm going to place you under oath. Would you raise your right hand? Do you swear affirm the testimony you shall give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you.
Microphone.
Microphone.
Thank you. Mr. Stone, yesterday you testified that Tucker Carlson is a good friend of yours.
That is correct.
I want to play this video for you. I want to get you to testify on it. I want it marked as Exhibit 6. This is a appearance last night by Tom Fitton of Judicial Watch on Tucker Carlson on Fox News.
Can we go off for just
Yes,
a second so
sure.
I can get everything framed up? Okay. Off the record at 9:08.
Tom Fitton has been following the Roger Stone case.
Turn up the sound.
He's, of course, the president of the Judicial Watch. Tom, this is the most political prosecution I've ever seen in this country. The more you know about it, the more shocking it is. Tell us why we should doubt the fairness of these proceedings.
Well, it arises out of the Mueller investigation, which has been thoroughly compromised by not only the FISA, but the political nature of the investigators, most of whom were Democrats or Democrat donors. You also had them investigating Trump for almost 2 years, knowing the underlying issue. Russia collusion was a big scam and a big lie. They knew that from the get-go. And on the Stone case, you have at least two of the investigators, two of the prosecutors who, quote, resigned from the case were Mueller operatives who have obviously an interest here. And so when you have prosecutors in the Justice Department, three of whom, by the way, who resigned, three of those were Democrats, as best I can tell, pushing for a sentence that the law doesn't require. They're talking about putting someone in jail for an extra period of time beyond what the law would require. That's according to the Justice Department's own filing on Tuesday. You know,
I don't
we've got
understand. I don't understand. Hold on. None of these so-called crimes would have been prosecuted if he hadn't been pulled into an investigation that led nowhere. In other words, he's being put in prison. He's being put in prison as an ancillary victim of an investigation that turned out to be fruitless. So, like,
Yeah,
it's actually insane if you think about it.
Yeah, I mean, that's presuming that there should have been a charge to begin with. He called this guy, he threatened his dog. It was obviously a silly threat. It wasn't a serious threat. It wasn't taken seriously by the alleged
He's a
victim.
dog lover. The whole thing is a lie.
And these prosecutors go to the court the other day, these Mueller guys, and tell the court this is all part of the foreign intervention, which was a big lie. So, you know, there's a scandal at the Justice Department. It has nothing to do with Bob Barr. It has everything to do with these prosecutors who are acting like their own little team, independent of the rule of law, to target President Trump, to try to vindicate the Mueller scam, and slap at Trump after his vindication by acquittal in the impeachment thing. This is all about politics, and they want to put a
prison. You're right. If they send him to prison, they will use the fact he went to prison as a way to claim the Russia investigation was real. This man needs a pardon before he goes to.
And just quickly,
No, I'm sorry, we're totally out of time. I'm being.
well, they should have
up against the break.
Trump to pardon everyone caught up in the Mueller scheme.
I agree with that, but particularly Roger Stone. Thank you.
I'm gonna
Go ahead.
set the record at 9:13. Back on the record at 9:14.
I asked that video of the appearance of Tom Fitton on Tucker Carlson tonight, February 12th, that we just played, be embedded into this video sequentially of the deposition. If it can't be put in sequentially, then just attach it as Exhibit 6. Mr. Stone, before that interview occurred last night, you spoke with Tucker Carlson, did you not?
I did not.
Someone on your behalf spoke with Tucker Carlson.
No, they did not.
Michael Caputo spoke with Tucker Carlson.
You have some
Objection
evidence
to
of that,
form.
produce it.
Well,
That's false, to be clear.
We'll be deposing Tucker Carlson.
Good, and you'll find out the same thing that I just told you.
Well, maybe he'll tell the truth, who knows? In any event,
If you want to keep attacking me, your deposition is going to end rather quickly, and you can go running off to the judge and do whatever you like.
Relax.
If you want to ask intelligent questions, if you keep attacking me, I'm just going to keep attacking you.
And it's unfair to attack a person who's not in the room. You just said that Tucker Carlson will lie, or might lie.
my statement stands for itself. I
Yes,
said maybe he will tell the truth.
Yes, it does. I have
Yes, it
just told
does.
the truth.
Okay, now
You have no evidence to the contrary.
Relax.
let's. The night before you were convicted, there was also a piece on Tucker Carlson that was highly favorable to you, was there not?
Yes, Tucker Carlson is a friend of mine. What does that have to do
And
with
in
it?
fact, the prosecutors in your criminal prosecution made reference to that after you were convicted in terms of asking for your incarceration.
That is
Objection.
completely, that's inaccurate.
Objection. Change your line
Completely
of questioning.
false.
Change your line of questioning.
Right.
We're not talking about this, as you know.
Now, Tom Fitton,
Yes,
he obviously appeared very engaged emotionally in your court on that video, correct?
yes.
Okay. And you did say yesterday that you met him
On one occasion,
on
that's
one
correct.
occasion but couldn't remember what you discussed.
Because it was non-substantive. It was, how are you? I'm fine. Great to see you. It was non-substantive.
Have you ever talked with Chris Farrell of Judicial Watch?
I have not.
Anyone on your behalf?
No one on my
James
behalf.
Peterson, anybody on your behalf?
I don't know who that is.
Paul Orphanides,
Don't know who that is.
any other employee?
I've had no communications with anyone at Judicial Watch, as I've told you.
Now, Judicial Watch, you are aware, filed a Freedom of Information Act lawsuit to get documentation from the Justice Department and the FBI with regard to the raid
I did read that,
on your
yes.
residence.
Yes, I did read that.
Now, I take it someone's been in contact with them to see what documents they got.
Not-
Objection to form.
I'm allowed to ask a leading question.
Repeat the question.
I take it someone has been in contact with Judicial Watch to see what documents they've obtained with regard to their Freedom of Information Act lawsuit about the raid on
Objection
your
to form.
residence.
And you asked that yesterday.
Just to be clear, what I read was that no documents were forthcoming and that a lawsuit was filed. And beyond that, I don't know the progress of that lawsuit. To answer your question specifically, no one who represents me, no one that I know has been in touch with Judicial Watch.
You told Tucker Carlson at some point that I was ousted from Judicial Watch because of a sexual harassment complaint. Did you go ask Fitton, correct?
You have no evidence of that whatsoever.
I'm asking you the question.
The
You
answer is
told him
no.
that,
The
right?
answer is no. But these wild conspiracy theories of yours are really getting wearing. That is false, categorically false. It was kind of disingenuous if you showed me that you sued Fitton yesterday, but not that Fitton sued you and actually won a judgment. You didn't mention that in your colloquy.
I also didn't mention that I won a judgment against Judicial Watch for defaming me.
I've not seen any such
All
judgment.
right, well, you can go back on the internet and figure that one out.
He's not even a lawyer and he's kicking your ass.
Well, I'm glad that you're so supportive of Tom Fitton.
I think he does an excellent
Apparently
job.
he's supportive of you.
He's entitled to that. It's called the First
Right,
Amendment.
right.
You may not be familiar
You're
with
aware
it.
that Fitton's testified that I never was ousted from Judicial Watch because of a sexual harassment
No, I
complaint.
don't, I'm not aware of that.
Okay, well, perhaps you will become that in the course of this case.
I doubt this case will get very far because it's a conspiracy theory based on no evidence.
Conspiracies happen, don't they, Mr. Stone?
They do, but in this case, it's a fantasy
Can you
on
ask
your
a
part.
question that's
You're
relevant to
delusional.
your
You're
lawsuit?
deeply delusional.
Are you saying I'm mentally unstable?
That's not what I said. I said you're delusional.
Stop. Ask a question a lawyer would ask, please.
I am a lawyer.
You could fool me.
Mr. Klayman, please.
Now, you remember when you were, as you put it, a political consultant working on my Senate campaign.
Vaguely, it was
Right.
quite a while ago.
You remember that there came a point in time when I was going through the airport at Dulles with cats,
Yes, I do.
and that I was detained at Dulles.
I believe, as I recall it, you were detained because you made some joke about the cat not having a bomb.
Right. Now, you were my campaign consultant at the time.
Yes.
Right. And you released that story, did you not, to Jim DeFede, DEFEDE of the Miami Herald after we stopped working with each other?
I most certainly did not.
Then Michael Caputo did that, didn't he?
I have no knowledge of that whatsoever.
In
And you
fact,
have no evidence of it. These
you-
are more of your picking things out of thin air.
You released
Why
that-
would anybody make a statement, a joke about a bomb while going through TSA? Shows me a lack of judgment, in all honesty. Particularly somebody running for the U.S. Senate.
You haven't shown a lack of judgment with regard to your conviction?
Not compared to you.
Listen, that comment is not a
Not
question.
compared to you.
And not a question.
How come you can't practice in the Southern District? Why won't they let you practice there if you're Mr. Ethical?
I can practice
Stop.
in Southern District.
Stop.
Only if you attach the judge's order.
I have a case right now.
Stop.
In fact, you're aware that I have a case right now.
I'm not aware that you have a
Oh,
case in
well.
that, but I doubt it.
Go do some research.
Very good, Mr. Klayman.
Stop-
Can you ask-
stop
can you
swatting at
ask-
flies.
Can you ask a question, please?
You're making wild assertions for which you have no evidence whatsoever.
Now, you also released that story to Al Klayman of the Washington Post.
Absolutely, completely false. You have no evidence of that. It's defamatory.
You have-
Stop defaming me.
You
Mr.
have- you have-
You know that I have a following among conservatives. Stop defaming me, Mr. Klayman.
You have, Mike Caputo was working for me as press secretary, correct?
Yes.
Okay, he released it.
Absolutely not. Categorically not. You're making baseless charges because you have nothing.
And you also released a story to Mark Caputo of the Miami Herald at the time about Tony Fabrizio and the issue of his, this was after we stopped working, of course, correct?
Objection to form, no foundation. You're
Wild assumptions that are false, for which you have no evidence whatsoever, and you will get no evidence. Go depose all those people. You just you can't get over the fact that you lost a Senate seat. I mean, this is absurd.
That has nothing to do with whether I lost or won.
It also has nothing to do with the 6 lawsuits that you
Well,
filed.
it's a pattern of conduct.
If anybody wants to talk about pattern of conduct, look in the mirror.
When you worked for me as a consultant, you had a fiduciary duty to keep what I told you confidential.
And you have no evidence that I did not do so.
Objection to form.
None whatsoever.
And there's no
It's a fishing
basis,
expedition.
no basis for a fiduciary duty.
What, are you the judge?
You didn't pay me a dime. You owed me money, as a matter of fact.
And your staff left with equipment that I paid for, correct?
Prove it.
Stop.
Prove it. Prove it. No one believes you. You have no credibility.
Ask a question, Mr.
I'm going to show you
Klayman.
what I'll ask the court reporter to mark as Exhibit 7.
Did you provide this in the response to request for production?
It was taken off of the internet yesterday by Dr. Corsi. He did not have it in his possession until he found it yesterday.
So all documents in support
fine.
of your lawsuits he found
Well,
yesterday?
I'll tell you what. We'll litigate it in court.
Excellent. You can lose again.
Hold on 1 second, everyone. I'm just going to mark this. Just give me 1 second. Hold on. Just give me 1 second. Let me just mark it. Okay.
Jerome Corsi's apparent scam cancer fundraiser exposed by conservative website. It states, the conservative Daily Caller investigated a cancer surgery fundraiser run by Roger Stone, associate Jerome Corsi, and found that it doesn't appear to be what he claimed. Over the summer, Corsi raised $25,000 for 33-year-old Thomas Strickler, an Alaska man he said needed the money to get experimental surgery by an Israeli oncologist named Dr. Eliot, E-L-I-A-T, Mendelsohn, M-E-N-D-E-L-S-O-H-N. The only problem, the caller revealed, is that Mendelsohn does not appear to exist. In his regular testimonials and fundraising messages on his YouTube channel, Corsi claimed Mendelsohn maliciously cured a relative stage 4 cancer, and after raising tens of thousands of dollars for Sickler, S-I-C-K-L-E-R, said the oncologist cured the younger man too. In both open source record searches and exchanges with institutions where the oncologist supposedly works, reporter Chuck Ross wrote that the Tucker Carlson founded Daily Caller could not find any trace of the Israeli oncologist's existence. Furthermore, Sickler is the owner of the Mendelsohn Consulting Group, website that Corsi linked to, and the LLC of the same name. Phone number on the Mendelsohn Consulting Group website also forwards to Sickler, the caller reported. The Twitter account Corsi linked to the supposing oncologist at Dr. Mendelsohn tweeted at both the Stone associate and Sickler has a photo of a doctor who appears much younger than a reportedly elder surgeon, and also posts about the pro-Trump QAnon conspiracy theory. When the caller contacted Corsi about the discrepancies, he insisted that Sickler fundraiser was legitimate, quote unquote. Quote, if I was misled or I was bamboozled on that, he said, quote, I honestly think Tommy Sickler was a cancer survivor, unquote. Corsi also defended his claim that Sickler was, quote, healed, unquote. In an August video posted before he was subpoenaed by special counsel Mueller and subsequently went on hiatus, Corsi claimed that Mendelsohn cured his wife's cousin's cancer. Quote, she was treated in Israel by Dr. Mendelsohn, quote, unquote, he said on August 2nd, and quote, and I think she looks better than she has in maybe 2 years, unquote. When the caller asked him about the claim, Corsi refused to comment. That's all I'm going to say, quote unquote, he told the website, quote, it's a personal matter, unquote. Corsi denied that he took any of the funds from the Sickler campaign and challenged Mueller and his team to investigate the funds. Quote, if they want to accuse me of running a fraud to raise $25,000 for Tommy Sickler, they can go ahead and accuse me of that if they want to, unquote, he said.
Exhibit C, what is the source of this? Or it's exhibit, whatever the exhibit you just read.
It was taken off the website. I don't know what the source is.
So you just put something in front of the witness?
Don't get
Okay.
argumentative with me. You're going to have a chance to cross-examine Mr. Bouchel.
Yes, indeed. We're looking forward to that.
Yes. Yes.
I'll be there.
I hope so.
Many questions for you.
I hope so. You may be in prison by then, but maybe
You'll be
they'll let you out.
you'll be disbarred by
All
then.
right. Mr. Klayman.
The clock's
you-
ticking
Mr.
faster
Klayman,
on you than me, pal.
Mr. Klayman, what, these barbs that you're doing?
No, he barbed me.
Okay. You're
Now,
a lawyer, sir.
I'm responding. So,
You can't cite the sword of
Mr. Stone,
Sisyphus. You're
I'm
ask-
asking you questions independent of this. You arranged with Tucker Carlson's Daily Caller to release this story through Chuck Ross concerning Dr. Tommy Strickler and Dr. Mendelsohn, correct?
Objection
Categorically
of form?
false.
Objection of form?
Categorically false.
And
Categorically false.
Tucker
You have no
Carlson-
evidence of that.
Tucker Carlson owns the Daily Caller, correct?
That is correct.
Is that just a coincidence that this happened?
If you have some proof to the evidence, put it on the table. You've got nothing. You're fishing. I've never discussed this with Tucker Carlson or Chuck Ross, but I do note that Jerry Corsi is described here as a Roger Stone associate. So much for that accuracy.
And my objection for the record is that none of this line of questioning has any relevance to any of Mr. Corsi's lawsuits.
Well, yes, there is reference to the Chuck Ross incident and the Daily Caller incident in the lawsuits. Go back and read them. I'll show you what I'll ask the court reporter to mark as Exhibit 8.
Is Exhibit 8 provided?
Hang on.
I'm sorry.
It's
I'm not going to answer your questions now. You can deal with it later.
Hang on.
I'm telling you, these documents were pulled off by Corsi yesterday off of
Hold
off the
on,
internet.
let's say that on the record,
Yeah,
please.
these documents were found by Dr. Corsi yesterday
These
on the
documents-
internet.
Okay, and yet they were supposed to be provided in response to a request for production?
He had no obligation to go on the internet to look for documents. He
Except
produced-
except he wants to use them as supporting his case, and he needs to do that since that's
You
what
make
the
the,
request
you make the
is.
argument to the court, my friend.
Okay,
You've
thank
already
you. This
said
is-
several false things to the court in the course of this case.
No one more than you, sir.
Except-
No one more than
I
you.
I take exception
Yeah.
to what you're saying, and this is not the proper way of doing it.
Make your argument to the court. He has no obligation to search the internet. He produced what he
He
had in his
needs to
possession.
produce exhibits that were meant to support his case.
He just found them
He
yesterday.
just waited until after the request for
You could
production.
depose Dr. Corsi and find out what happened.
I'm sure we will.
Okay. This is a tweet from Chuck Ross at Chuck Ross DC.
Yes.
Tweeted, Dr. Eliad Mendelsohn, who Corsi claims cured patient Thomas Sickler, appears not to exist. The Israeli hospital where Corsi claimed Mendelsohn works said he does not work there. Sickler, the purported patient who Corsi says he met, is the registered owner of Mendelssohn's clinic. https, twitter.com, Chuck Ross DC status, etc. You've seen this tweet before, have you?
I object. It assumes facts, not in evidence. It doesn't look like a tweet. It's a bunch of letters and words on a piece of paper that you just provided first time today.
All right, well, you can have your own characterization at the right time in the right place. You've seen this before, haven't you?
I have not. At least I have no, let me say, I have no memory of having seen it. This is news to me.
I'll ask the court reporter to mark as Exhibit 9 this document.
Again, an exhibit that was not provided in response to request for production.
I have no obligation to give you my exhibits before this deposition. This was pulled off by Dr. Corsi yesterday off the website. I have no obligation to do that.
This once
You-
again has no
you-
source on it.
You do, because we asked very specifically all documents and exhibits you
All right,
in
look,
support
we
of.
can argue over it legally. I'm happy to go to a hearing on this, okay? I'm happy to do it. So, you file a motion. Jerome Corsi's apparent scam cancer fundraiser exposed by conservative website by Noor, Noor, Al, Sibai, of December 15, 2018. This again references Chuck Ross's writing for Tucker Carlson's founded Daily Caller, does it not?
It does. It appears to be exactly identical to the previous piece you gave me.
Okay. You've seen this article before?
I have not. And it has no source on it, so I have no idea where it came from. It does once again call Jerry Corsi an associate a lie.
I'll show you what I'll ask the court to mark as Exhibit 10.
Hold on one second, let me just mark it so we
Thank you.
Same objection. There's no citation to where this came from. It wasn't provided in response to the request for production. And it appears, I don't know, it could be, it says James A. up top. I don't know if it's Mr. Corsi wrote
And
this or
same
not.
response on my part with regard to Dr. Corsi finding it yesterday on the internet. It's titled Post Tags Chuck Ross, December 13th. The Daily Caller DC, founded by Tucker Carlson of Fox News, published an article claiming that Dr. Jerome Corsi helped raise $25,000 for a doctor that didn't exist. I will direct the reader to the articles. There's a link so as not to take credit for their work and to avoid redundancy in repeating the same claims. Without going through the allegations, which speak for themselves in this article, you've seen this article before, haven't you?
I have not.
I'll ask the court reporter to mark as Exhibit 11 this document.
It's the same objection, no citation to the link to the internet. Was not given in response to the request for production.
Same response. Statement on behalf of Dr. Jerome Corsi concerning recent article by Chuck Ross of the Daily Caller. You've seen this before, have you not, Mr. Stone?
This story?
Yeah,
this
no,
one.
Oh.
this one here.
Oh,
11.
sorry, hold on. I'm not sure whose statement this is. No, I haven't seen this before.
Okay.
At least I have no memory of seeing it before.
I'll show you what I'll ask the court reporter to mark as Exhibit 12.
Mr. Stone will not be commenting on anything relating to his criminal case, so you can mark this exhibit and leave it at that.
Well, I'm going to ask a question that's relevant to this case.
Okay.
Exhibit 12 is a Fox News story by Greg Ree. Roger Stone's jury four-person's anti-Trump social media posts surface after she defends DOJ prosecutors. Greg Ree is G-R-E-G-G, last family name R-E. Have you ever spoken with Greg Ree?
We're not answering questions about this article. It has to do with his criminal case.
I can ask whether he's spoken to Greg Ree.
All right, fine.
No.
Do you
Never
know who
spoken.
Greg Ree is?
I do, other than seeing his byline here, no.
This article, which makes reference to alleged conflicts of interest of jurors in your case, was furthered by Tucker Carlson, was it not? Fox News.
We're not talking about it. Next question. I'm instructing you not to answer.
Certify it. Now, you testified yesterday that you produced all the documents that you were required to produce with regard to Dr. Corsi and me in the course of this case, correct?
I believe that to be the
Okay.
case.
All right. I'm going to ask the court reporter to mark the following document as Exhibit 13.
Give me 1 second. There you go.
This document shows communication with Joel Gilbert on or about October 20th, 2016. You know who Joel Gilbert is,
Yes, I
right?
do. Yes, I do.
Who is Joel Gilbert?
Joe Gilbert is a brilliant filmmaker in Los Angeles.
Right. And he writes to you on October 20th, 2016, I know longtime Clinton tormentor, Attorney Larry Klayman. He might be the kind of guy who would take this case for 3 should I talk to him. What case was that?
There was an effort to prove the paternity of Danny Williams in Arkansas, and I wanted an Arkansas-based attorney to represent the young gentleman, and I was prepared to finance his suit because I believe he's telling the truth. At that time, I had the resources to do so.
And you wrote back to Mr. Gilbert over my dead body. That's
Correct.
referring to me,
Cor-
correct?
Yes, correct, absolutely.
Okay. You didn't produce this, did you?
I don't know whether I did or not, but it may have slipped through. I certainly stand by my comment, though.
show you what I'll ask the court reporter to mark as Exhibit 14.
I believe so. We have them all in.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yes, it is 14. Okay.
Exhibit 14 is an email from you, players02@gmail.com, to Roger Stone, players02@gmail.com, which you sent to Joel Gilbert, and it's referring to Dr. Jerome Corsi. It says, "This is what Mueller's hit squad demands Corsi recant, which he refuses to do." You didn't produce this document either in this case, did you?
I'm not really sure. I don't recall seeing it previously. I would, however, stand by everything it says.
I'll ask that the court reporter mark as Exhibit 15. An email of November 25th, 2018 at 11:52 p.m. from you. It was sent to Joel Gilbert. It was provided to me by Gilbert. And it says, "Why is Mueller poised to indict Jerry Corsi for failure to lie?" You didn't produce this document either, did you?
I'm uncertain.
Thank you. Now, throughout the course of this deposition, you made reference to various bar proceedings concerning me, correct?
I think they were referenced in yesterday's
Yeah.
comments, yes.
Yes. And in fact, you played a role with Pete Santilli in filing a bar complaint against me in the District of Columbia.
I specifically
Objection-
denied that yesterday.
Objection to form,
And so
and
again.
asked and answered.
It's already been answered.
In fact, you've been paying Santilli's lawyers legal fees, haven't you?
Objection.
Completely and totally false. You have some evidence of that, produce it. You have no such evidence because it is entirely false.
Are you, I have asked, okay, are you aware that I've asked them whether that's the case and they refuse to answer?
I'm not aware of that, but it's not true, and you have no proof of it. This is another one of your fantasies. Most of your lawsuits are based on fantasies. As regards me, that is.
Now, yesterday you testified that you were fired from InfoWars when you were indicted.
Terminated is the word I think I used.
Fired equals termination, correct?
Kind of like you at Judicial Watch.
Okay. Now, in terms of, by the way, how did you come to the conclusion that I was fired at Judicial Watch?
Well, are you still there? Who walks away from an organization they founded and controlled?
Did I hire you to run for the Senate?
Yes, you did.
Okay. Was that what I left Judicial Watch for?
No, that's what you chose to do after you left Judicial Watch.
Okay.
We'll get into that in your deposition very deeply, don't worry.
Okay, good. In fact, you've learned this from Fitton. This is what he's told you, correct?
Categorically false. I've only had one conversation with Fitton, and I've already explained it. Beyond that, I've had no communications with Fitton whatsoever, as I've said repeatedly.
Well,
Why do you keep asking the same question when it's already been answered? Why are you wasting my time and the court's time?
is that the way you feel about your criminal prosecution?
Objection. Stop doing that.
There'll be no questions
That's-
about my criminal, as we know.
Stop doing that.
Well, you ought to be up
Stop
in
it.
New York arguing with the bar about them disbarring
Guys,
you.
one
Stop.
at a time, hold on.
Stop. Mr. Klayman,
Okay.
stop doing that.
Now, you've had appearances on InfoWars since you were terminated, correct?
On very few times, but yes.
And how many times have you been on InfoWars?
I could not tell you, I don't exactly remember. Once or twice, perhaps 3 times. Discussing matters not pertaining whatsoever to my criminal case.
Did you do those appearances in person in Texas?
No, I did not.
During the course of those, or prior to those interviews, did you have discussions with Alex Jones or Owen Stroyer?
Only about the logistics, perhaps, but I doubt it was probably with their producers.
you've discussed with them the fact that they've been sued over comments that you made about Corsi and me on InfoWars, correct?
Under baseless assertion for which you have no evidence whatsoever.
You've had conversations about that with them, correct?
A baseless assertion for which you have no evidence
All right,
whatsoever.
answer the question.
The
Have you
answer
or
is
have you
no.
not?
The answer is no. The answer is no. I think I may have told them that you're suing me, but that would be it. It's a public matter that you're suing them. It's been reported.
Now, yesterday you testified about
Thank you.
a Judicial Watch donor list, correct?
Yes.
Objection to form.
Yeah, and you said
Yes.
that, I'm not going to get back into the testimony, but you're aware that you and I took a trip to see Richard Viguerie
Yes.
while you were still representing me
Yes.
in Virginia at American Target Advertising,
I
correct?
don't remember it specifically, but if you say so,
Right.
I'm prepared to agree.
And the reason that we were looking to get that list is because Viguerie owned those names.
But you asserted that you co-owned them, that you had a right to use them. That was your assertion, which is the normal, standard way of doing business with his company.
I told you also that Fitton and Judicial Watch would not give me access to that list when I left Judicial Watch.
You actually
Objection
never
form.
told me that.
I know.
You never told me
Well,
that.
if I had access, what was the reason that I would have to go to Virginia with you to see if we could
Because normally,
rent Vigorie's list?
because lists have to be scheduled normally. And when lists are co-owned, those who co-own them schedule them so that the mail dates don't bump into each other. You actually told me that you had access to the list and the right to use the list. That turned out, of course, to be false.
But we were able to use Vigorie's list, where he owned the names, correct?
I don't recall us ever having a successful mailing.
In fact, you wrote the copy,
Well,
correct?
I did want you to mail that list too, and I was under the impression that you had the right to mail it, but that turned out to be not true.
And that mailing or mailings were mailed, correct?
I have no memory of that.
You remember everything else, but you don't remember that.
Objection to argumentative.
I'm going to show you what we went over yesterday. This is my sworn affidavit. I want you to take your time. Court reporter, if you could give,
Sure.
or actually you have
I didn't bring
a
it
copy of
today.
the binder.
Thought we
Okay.
were done with it.
Right here.
I want you to go through it, paragraph by paragraph, and tell me what you consider, if you consider anything to be inaccurate in that affidavit.
Objection. If some of it will call for legal conclusion. We went through this yesterday. You went
This
through
is
it line
factual.
by line.
This is factual. Okay, I'm going to asking him,
I have no obligation to do that, and I'm not going to do it.
certified.
Yes, please do.
You can ask your individual questions like you did yesterday.
Well, take an opportunity, Mr. Stone. We have time to review
So
the
I'm
affidavit.
not going to read your biography.
And tell me-
I'm
and
not
tell
going
me
to read your
whether anything's
biography.
inaccurate.
I'm not going to read your biography and all of your asinine claims because you're an egomaniac. I'm just not going to do that.
All right.
If you have a
It's just-
specific
All right,
question,
certified.
pose
We'll,
it.
we'll go to the court about it.
I agree. Let's go to the court about it. I want to do that. Your reputation here is well known.
Stop.
Well known.
Stop.
I'm asking you. You can take your time, go through it paragraph by paragraph.
saying
Tell
I'm
me if
not-
anything's
Just let him-
inaccurate.
I'm not going to do that. as
We
I
went
just
we
said.
went through this yesterday.
We
Mr.
didn't go.
Klayman.
I didn't ask it that
He
way.
likes to hear his biography. It makes him feel important.
Okay, certified.
Yes, please do. I'd like to speak to the judge myself about this.
Better do it quick.
Before you're disbarred.
Stop. Stop. Mr. Klayman.
No further
stop.
questions. This deposition is concluded for now, subject to my going back and moving the court to produce all the documents that we requested.
Subject to your still being admitted to the bar. Please note that for the record.
Actually, can I just ask a few clarifying questions?
Sure.
Yeah. Can we take a 5 minute break?
Sure.
All right, let's take a 5 minute break.
On the break, excuse me, off the record, back on the record at 9:54.
For the record, the affidavit to which I'm referring, my affidavit, is the first document in composite Exhibit 2 to this deposition.
And before Mr. Lerner takes over questions, I'm happy that he's going to do the questions. But basically, we ended our deposition yesterday at the time noted, but it was at least a half hour before 5 o'clock. Mr. Stone was prepared to stay. Basically, overnight, Mr. Corsi did some internet research and presented some exhibits that were the only real basis for new questions in day 2 of this deposition. They should have been produced as in response to a request for production. In regards to exhibits that support your allegations in the various lawsuits, they were not. Mr. Lerner came from New York and had to stay overnight for the second day, and we could have handled this yesterday. That being said,
Mr. it's
Lerner.
inaccurate. First of all, that wasn't the sole basis of the questioning today. We talked about an appearance of Tom Fitton with regard to Tucker Carlson, and I wanted an opportunity to review everything to see what, if any, other questions I needed to ask. I went back through it. I streamlined the questioning as a courtesy to you and Mr. Lerner, and for that matter, Mr. Stone, and I've decided that I've got what I need at this time, subject to my filing motions to compel with the court. So,
Let the record show that I answered the questions even though there weren't even any sightings on where these came from.
Thank you, Mr. Lerner.
I just have a few questions and I'll get us out of here. Are you aware in the complaint in Corsi versus Stone and Newsmax and Cardillo, the case that my client is involved in, there are allegations regarding Cassandra Fairbanks' appearance on Newsmax television on January 30, 2019. Are you aware of that?
I am.
Okay. Were you aware in advance of January 30, 2019 that Cassandra Fairbanks was going to appear on Newsmax on that day?
I was not.
Did you discuss the possible appearance of Cassandra Fairbanks on Newsmax with anybody at Newsmax
I did
at or
not.
around that time?
I did not.
Christopher Ruddy?
Did not.
John Bachman?
Did not.
John Cardillo?
Did not.
Did you discuss with anybody at Newsmax at or about that time presenting anything negative about Jerome Corsi?
I did not.
Did you encourage anyone at Newsmax to present Jerome Corsi in a negative light?
I did not.
Did you ask anybody else to contact Newsmax on your behalf to encourage them to present Jerome Corsi in a negative light?
I did not.
I have nothing.
okay. Let the record reflect that this witness has been convicted of 5 counts of perjury.
You're defaming- you're defaming
You know
me.
what?
Okay, so
This is-
Let the record show that this
that-
man's bar license is under attack in New York for his serial
It's
misconduct.
Washington, D.C.
Pardon me, Washington, D.C.
I have no further questions.
Very professional. Thank you,
Yeah.
Mr. Klayman. Okay.
Record is 9:57.